cannot hear you. Okay, now I can.
Okay. Says you're recording. I guess I should record my end too, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Suppress background noise. Low. Output is high. Okay, that's as loud as my mic will go, I think, without cracking up. If I go like here, it should start like popping.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about this right here?
What you had it at originally was fine. Yeah.
Okay. So for Zoom, it seems to be like too quiet for people. If there's like a lot of people in the room, but not now.
Yeah,
How you
maybe.
been?
Better than a lot of people. I've actually been able to have an income for the last year.
Oh, nice.
So
that's good.
I mean, I have to do all my assignments from my room, and that's not especially instructive, but I'm still going to be able to do like the major classes and thesis work on campus.
Okay.
Like you get like introductory cinematography classes and then like advanced cinematography and multiple things like that, production design, editing, shit like that. The introductory stuff I have been taking over Zoom, but the more advanced stuff, and which the stuff of which will get more out of, I'm going to be back on campus pretty soon.
Oh, good. Yeah, everything's back to normal here.
Yeah, right.
Like completely. People are like, "Oh, no more masks." Okay, no more masks. And then it's just normal now. It's weird.
Yeah,
everybody's
I
got a
imagine.
vaccine, and we're good.
I imagine June 15th, they're going to say masks off, and there's going to be like across every street in LA, just mountains of masks. And they're like, no, we're not going to do it anymore. Even if you want to lock us down again, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I get you. Kind of.
Yeah.
I left California right at the right time. Oh man.
Yeah, well, you left in response to this. So.
No, I mean it was coming. It looked like it was going to happen, but we didn't know. And then I left, and then 1 week later, then it happened.
Okay.
I left because I went broke and my car broke down, and I had to go with my tail tucked in between my legs to my parents. I just paid off all that debt, like just barely.
Oh yeah. How was the whatever job you had? Did you go crazy during keeping the hotel in check?
No, I was a parking lot close. No, I didn't go crazy. I wrote a lot. I studied a lot of Spanish.
Okay.
Did like 400 hours of active Spanish study.
God damn.
I was just by myself like a lot, so yeah. I had nothing to do but like my own stuff. So it was kind of great, kind of lonely, but that was only 5 months. So, yeah. And now I'm back in Utah.
5 months. Well, yeah. Okay, so you got a slight misunderstanding of what you're saying. Now I get it.
I left California, went to Utah,
yeah.
Worked here for a little bit, got a job in Colorado, worked 2 jobs in Colorado at night, 6 to 7 days a week. There was like a 2-month period I worked every day. It's paid off my debt right as like the end day of the Colorado thing, and came back a few weeks ago and got a little job here, and I'm trying to get industry related jobs again. I'm making another effort to do that again. After I went to the Kanab Film Festival, I networked a lot, made a lot of friends. I plan on going to every little tiny local film festival and just milking it for what it's worth as much as I can. It's actually a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to make friends at those things. And like the people in southern Utah especially just really don't care about the COVID thing. They didn't care when 13th Cross came out either. When it premiered down there in St. George. Like hardly anyone.
You got some viewers.
There were some people that just didn't care about the mask. They refused to wear the mask, and then a lot of people wore the mask, but then in some instances would take the mask off. And like including like the festival director gave me a hug at the end of the at the end of the whole shebang. And it's like, oh, it's so funny. It's so funny how people are treating it. I had COVID, and luckily it didn't bother me much. It hit my sister pretty hard, but she survived. So I don't know too much. It's in my personal life, it hasn't been that bad. Except for like I can't go to the movies, but now I can. I get to go see quality films like Mortal Kombat, which I saw.
Yes, high quality films right there.
The other day. Saw Mortal Kombat. I saw Godzilla vs. Kong. I enjoyed them both. They were both really dumb, but I loved them both anyway.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that, I need to talk to you about your podcasts.
Okay.
So, I have some questions prepared.
What's this for? What is this?
It's a sound production and design class.
Oh man, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't. But okay, yeah, we can talk about it. Sure.
Okay. So first off, who are you and what are your podcasts about?
My name is Joseph DeGolyer or DeGolyer, and I have DeGolyer. Huh? That's how it's supposed to be pronounced, but it's spelled wrong as well, apparently. And I have it's missing an I. They replaced it with a Y, so it's like DeGolyer. Like it's terrible. Yeah, it's supposed to be a French name, but now it's like a botched French name. So, but how it's supposed to be pronounced is something close to DeGolyer.
Okay.
And so at a certain point when I was like a teenager, I just was like, I'm gonna go with the better pronunciation. And I don't know, it just depends on the mood I'm in, which one I go with. But a few years ago, I was working at Domino's and I was delivering pizzas a lot, and I was getting really into the Final Fantasy games, and I was listening to a lot of Adam Carolla. And I decided that I looked around and I didn't find any good Final Fantasy podcasts out there. And then on a whim, me and one of my friends, we just decided, we're going to record one episode of a Final Fantasy podcast. We're going to go through the whole series, the main series of games, the Roman numeraled ones, and start a podcast about that. And then that's how it started. It was like an accident. And somehow we managed to do a podcast every single week until about until about a year and a half ago, where we missed 1 week. And we had about a 5.5-year run of talking about Final Fantasy and trying to make each other laugh and praising some things about the series, making fun of the series, making fun of fans, like having a really fun time, just hanging out with my friend, talking about Final Fantasy, recording it, and so that's the biggest podcast I've ever done, and like it was number 3 new and noteworthy in the video game charts. It was pretty high up in the games and hobbies charts on iTunes. These are old iTunes charts. They're a little different now. And then at a certain point, it made it into the top 200 video games and hobbies charts. And I think it peaked at number 17, according to like this little tracker we have. And we made a spin-off show that's just about all video games with our other friends called Nude Clan, which it's very not safe for work show that you can enjoy if you want to check that out. And then on the side, I'm a big Godzilla fan. I have a Godzilla thing behind me right now, if you can see it. And always wanted to watch all those movies, and have been very slowly going through all the Godzilla movies with another like nerdy friend of mine named Drew. So I got three podcasts that I'm pretty proud of. And yeah. That's what I do as a hobby.
Cool. So you talked a bit about why you started them. What expectations did you have before you started, in the sense of both producing it and how it might be received?
Oh, nothing. We had nothing as like an idea of like what we wanted or anything. And honestly, we probably would have done better if we had some sort of goal. in mind. But we just kind of, I don't know, we stumbled into it. We got into podcasting right before Serial. So I mean, there was a lot of podcasters and stuff like that, and it was growing, but it wasn't huge. It wasn't like not everybody knew what a podcast was back then. We were about a year earlier than that. So it was just kind of a weird nerdy hobby. And I remember like 2 weeks in, we had one day where we had 47 downloads in a day, and we were so happy. And we just thought about how there were 47 people. Like if you thought about 47 people in a room, like if you were looking at 47 people, like that's actually like a pretty substantial amount of people just hearing you hearing you talking about video games. And we were so happy about that. So it's funny now. It's like we never go to 47 downloads any day. Not since then. Like 47 downloads would be like the world is ending. But yeah, it's that's where we were at. I mean, we started there. We had much bigger plans when 2 years in we started Nude Clan. We tried to hit that one like it was going to be the world-ending video game podcast, which it's not, but we still do it, and we still love doing it. I left that show for a while, and I'm back on it. But yeah, I wouldn't say. And in terms of production, like we started with $22. One was $22, one was $24 karaoke microphones from Best Buy, put into actually our very first episode which sounded awful and had this crazy like echo in it. We had like gaming headphones, like cheap ones, and we were in the same room but on different computers talking to each other, so there was like a terrible delay in that episode. It's awful and really tinny and terrible. But I mean, like literally, like we just like stumbled in it and like slowly got equipment. So those karaoke microphones were the next purchase, and then the purchase after that, and they both went into this thing I'm still recording through. It's this Roland tri-capture device, which is taking it's like a tiny little mixer. It's just basically like one 1/4 inch input with one 3-prong microphone input. I don't know what those are called, sorry. And so yeah, one's supposed to be for guitar, one's supposed to be for vocals, since they lined up with our little with our karaoke microphones for some reason. And then eventually I went and got a condenser microphone later on and started using that. And then we stopped using the free software for audio mixing, and we started paying for Adobe software to start kind of mixing on. And I'd say about a year and a half into it, it started sounding a lot better. And then eventually we just both got the standard live microphone, which is a Shure SM58. And we've stuck with those since. They're indestructible. I'm talking through one now.
And so for 4 years you've had those microphones? Yeah,
we've had these microphones. There are microphones that'll sound better or whatever, but I mean, these can go anywhere and sound decent because they got a really good flat signal and they're directional, and so we can be in a room with like a lot of echo in it and it's not going to be terrible. We've had some noise problems with some of the mixers we bought. As we have shows with more and more like hosts on it and inputs, we've had to get bigger mixers, and in that case we have had like sound problems, definitely. But I do my best. I had a little bit of training in film school with audio mixing. I did some of that in high school as well. Didn't use any of my knowledge when we first started the show. I was just lazy about it. It's like, well, we talked for an hour and a half. I don't want to do an hour and a half of editing afterwards either, like on top of that. But eventually we kind of got to a place where most of it was automated, and so the amount of work we had to do afterwards was pretty minimal, just because we had the right setup in the room. To us, which to me, by the way, the right setup is, I've had really loud jobs, and I've had like the one headphone in the ear thing. And it's like the most important thing for a podcast is to not sound good. It's to not sound like really crystal clear. It's not to sound like it's supposed to come off of a CD. It's supposed to sound really loud so that you can hear it wherever. And everybody needs to be the same volume level on the show as well. That's like the utmost. That's like
how long did it take you to figure that out?
Oh yeah, when we started getting Adobe and I started messing with like compressors and stuff like that, and just trying to get it so that it sounded as loud as Adam Carolla's podcast. Like it needed to sound like as loud as that and have the same file size, which certain computer programs, if you're gonna mix it down to 64 kilobits a second, like that's going to sound like crap through some of them, and then through Adobe Audition it actually sounds decent for how small it is. So that's also something that we had to like figure out. It's like, okay, we want to save money on storage space, we want it to download fast, okay, we're going to have this small of a file size.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So obviously you faced a few challenges along the way.
I guess
there's like figuring out how to optimize audio, figuring out how to optimize for ease of access for your audience. Yeah, I'd say so. How has the pandemic affected the production?
I mean, a lot of things have affected the production along the way. I wouldn't actually say that the pandemic has affected our specific production that much. I moved to
What was bigger?
I moved to California for 2 years, and that affected whether or not I was on one of the shows. We like to record all in the same room if we can. Like that's a really big priority for us because there's just an energy to it. So I did about a year, I guess. Yeah, the 2 years I was in California, we did most of the episodes over of the Final Fantasy show, Ultimate Final Fantasy. We did that over. We would talk on Skype, and then we would each record our end via. I'll show you. Where is it? These devices have changed a little bit. You can't get the exact model anymore, but they still do the same thing. Like the mics are still good. They're just smaller, and they take.
It's a recurring story in sound production.
The battery now, but this is called the Zoom H1. You guys probably use the Zoom H4n a lot in the film school, I'm guessing. But yeah, this baby actually has really decent internal microphone on it. And we both had one of these. And here's the trick to this. Now, it's really poppy and it's really noisy and all that stuff. You get one of these foam covers on the mic, and you set the volume level low enough where you're not going to pop it if you yell.
Yeah.
The input
so like
volume.
Any microphone.
And it sounds like a really good, crystal clear microphone. It's got this crazy stereo effect. It puts it on both sides. And what you do in Adobe or whatever, you just set it to mono. And once you set it to mono, it sounds like it's a little bit tinnier than one of these. But it actually has really good quality. So you would just do, instead of recording the Skype call itself and putting that out, like we're doing here, you would instead, back and forth, you would record each end, and then he'd send the file over to me, and I would mix them and put them out, just like any other episode. And so that was the biggest change. They tried that when I wasn't on Nude Clan. They tried that with the other 4 hosts. They had each one of them. They did it for like 2 weeks, and they couldn't stand it anymore, and they just decided to meet in person anyway. So that's, I'm sure there's probably going to be some people that are not going to be happy with that decision, but they decided they wanted to take that risk, and no one got COVID, luckily. But yeah, that's what they did for a little while.
Got it.
Yeah, and that's what they did for a little while, and then after I had COVID, like I didn't care. I was just gonna do it in person anyway. It's like I'm not gonna
get all of you sick.
Yeah. And maybe that's an arrogant thing to say, but now we're all vaccinated up, and it doesn't matter.
Time to play with death.
Time to play with death. That's right. So I wouldn't say it changed it at all. I wish other people knew the trick about recording their own audio though, because like I listen to other podcasts, or I watch I'll watch Joe Rogan's thing, and they'll have some multimillionaire guy who like can't figure out that like, oh, we're doing the Joe Rogan show, let me record my own audio and send it to him and make this clear. Like, that drives me nuts.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So aside from all the technical hurdles that you've overcome, what have you gotten out of it? Like, has it opened any doors for you?
Yeah, it has. It's opened some doors. I've met a lot of interesting people. I've gotten some good trips out of it. We've gone to New York twice on the dime of the podcast. Yeah. Yeah, I would say one thing that I think the biggest thing, and this has to do with film school, I made like an $8,000, $9,000 movie. And always been a dream to make a movie, still working on being a writer, still working on being a filmmaker myself. But like, I was able to go, I mean, this ain't much to a lot of people, but I was able to raise about $4.5 grand off of my audience that listened to the show, like just by saying, you know, a couple weeks beforehand and just going like, hey, I'm trying to make a movie, and if you guys are interested, you know, please go to Indiegogo and support the project. And a lot of people, like, they would go and check it out. So I mean, that was probably the best thing that came out of it. They did that twice. I had like a big short film I was trying to make at the end of film school, and I was trying to raise money for that. Raised about $1,000 off of that. And
That's half your budget. That's really good.
yeah.
Wow.
And so that helped a lot there. The podcasts themselves, through their support on Patreon, we used to make a lot of money on the Amazon affiliate links, which are no longer very useful anymore, unfortunately, because Amazon is like taking more and more money. There was some Twitch stuff as well that we were making a little bit of money off of, and all that combined, we're making a few $100s a month, and that would just pile up. And then there's these like conventions out in New York. We would just have like an excuse to go to New York, and we'd meet listeners there, and we'd party with listeners. And we've done that twice off of that as well. I've found people to do artwork for me for projects. I've found people to do music for me. The score of my little movie was composed by someone who was a listener and just reached out. And then the final song, which I wrote, someone else recorded, and that was also another listener. And so yeah, I mean, it's helped open some doors for sure. But mostly for me, yeah, I mean, yeah, for me it definitely is. It's not breaking any, like, you know, it's not breaking any world records or anything like that, but it's helpful. It has been helpful, and I've met some. It's mostly the people and the friends you meet too. Like, there's people. I still play video games a lot, and I'll go online, and you know, I just know some people. Like, they'll pop on the chat, or like we'll talk. We have a Discord channel. We'll talk on Discord, and it's like they're just friends now. They're friends in just different places. So it's a really cool thing. I'm glad, like,
internet friends.
Yeah, internet friends, exactly. But actually, you meet them in real life, and if you've talked to them for a lot of time, like, yeah. There's a couple online games we played with a guy who goes by the avatar name of Krenatol, and another that goes by Baindrum, and we got a Swedish listener as well that goes by Darth Jamu, and we've met them in person after we've spent thousands of hours with them, and there's not much of a difference between seeing someone in person after having talked to them for hours and hours over a chat than there is about just like hanging out as friends. In fact, like, you might have spent more time with them than you have some of your other like local friends, I would say. So I really love it.
An audience member from Sweden.
How far really active one,
yeah. How far afield does your audience get?
I mean, they're all over the world. You can see like where your downloads are at through the Libsyn back channel thing. We've Sweden.
What were you most surprised by?
I mean, last night someone talked to us from Japan. There's a couple people from Japan who listen to the Godzilla podcast. and emailed us and stuff like that. That's always cool because I love Japanese crap. So that's that's always cool to like hear like Japanese people are listening to our show, even if it's just like a couple of them. But if there's one that reaches out, that's like 1 in 10 of your audience that's ever gonna reach out. That's a pretty cool thing. The Swedish guy, he's a pretty awesome dude. Never in the middle continent of Asia. That hasn't happened yet. No one in Africa either, but pretty much everywhere else. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your favorite Final Fantasy and or Godzilla? and interpret this question as broadly as you can.
Ooh.
Your favorite to hate on, your favorite to play, your favorite to introduce people.
Like if I'm hating on one of those things, I really don't like it. Because I can like, I'm a fan of camp. I love really artsy films. I love really campy films. I can go all over the board with movies, and not so much with games.
With Godzilla, yeah.
Not so much with games. I get really frustrated, specifically the video game parts of games. But with movies, I can do that, and thus Godzilla, which is all the above. The best Godzilla movie is the first one. It's the original one. It's got a really good dark tone to it. It's got a really good story, like human narrative. And then the monster is like this representative, like horror, and it's a horror movie with this giant monster in it. It's well shot for the time, and the special effects are pretty good for the time. It's just a really good, solid movie. And I mean the Godzilla 1954 version, not the 1956 one with the Raymond Burr re-edits. That's probably the best Godzilla movie, and I think most people agree with that. A lot of people think the 2016 Shin Godzilla is as good or better. I don't think so. I think it's really good. I think it's probably the second best Godzilla movie. So yeah, I would say the best Godzilla movie is the original, followed by the most recent live action Japanese one, which is 2016 Shin Godzilla. In Japanese. Don't watch those things in English. If you're an adult, come on. Now, there are also Godzilla movies that I love because you're not only laughing with the film, you're laughing at the film, and you're just having a good time. The terrible Godzilla movies are the boring ones. That's when it's. How
do you make Godzilla boring?
You can. There's a movie called Destroy All Monsters, which has somehow managed to make it has 20 monsters in it, and it's just so slow. So it can happen. There's some Godzilla vs. Megalon is also in the bad category, and they're in the bad category because they're slow. In addition to being horrible and campy, but because they're slow, the campiness wears off. You can't have fun anymore. That's what I think anyway. I think in the fun category, if you're a Godzilla fan and you're just gonna have a fun time watching a Godzilla movie, I think Godzilla versus Mothra is probably my favorite in that category of Godzilla movies for sure. Godzilla vs. Mothra from 1964, I think. It's 1960 something, and then I think from the Heisei era or the middle era of Godzilla films. Oh, hold on. I'll give you a few. You got to throw in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla from 1970 and Terror of Mechagodzilla, its direct sequel, also really great. And then from the Heisei era, which is the 80s and 90s Godzilla movies, which you might have seen the VHS cases and Blockbuster a lot when you were a kid. Godzilla versus Biollante is actually pretty darn good. There's a couple really corny, hilarious moments in there, but that's actually a pretty good movie. And Godzilla 2000 is also a lot of fun. I just watched that one today. I watched that doing a podcast commentary today, and I just got back from it.
Nice.
And with Final Fantasy games, I mean, I think the best one is 6. We have an episode where we go through all 50 Final Fantasy games that we played for the show, and we ranked them all. It's called Finale Fantasy. So if you want to check that out and have me and Schweiss kind of argue over which ones go where, we both put our lists up against each other. We ranked them each separately, and then we did we went from the bottom to the top. And whenever we both had two listed, we put that on the board, as it were. So we have an official ranking on that episode. But my favorite, and I think the best one, is 6, Final Fantasy 6. 10 is up there, 7's up there. Those are kind of like the trilogy. Those are the 3 like really good ones.
Yeah.
And my favorite one to hate on, but I still love the game, is Final Fantasy 8. It's like really dumb, but I love it regardless.
Is that the one with the eco-terrorists? Where you play like an eco-terrorist, or is that 7?
That's 7.
Okay.
That's one of the best ones.
I tried playing that for like a couple of days, and I think just the person who had it left, so I never finished it.
Oh.
And I never really cared enough to finish it in the first place.
It actually has a really good narrative to follow. Like, there's a couple of them that'll surprise you. A lot of Final Fantasy games kind of have the same like BS storyline. It's just like, okay, there's crystals and there's a great evil force, and you have to be the hero and you got to stop it, including all the spin-offs and stuff like that. But a couple of them have really good stories or really good plot threads.
I thought 10 was fantastic. That was the first one that I played.
Yeah, 10 is. It has some like issues, like some goofy voice acting stuff you kind of have to get through.
Yeah, they like actually just elongated the line in order to fit the time space.
Yeah,
at times
they had problems with that, and so and there's good moments in all the main series ones at least. But yeah, 6, 7, and 10 are the classics. They're really good. I think 15 is actually pretty darn good. It's got some flaws in it, but you know, if you're a newer gamer and you want to get into Final Fantasy, might as well just start with the last big one.
Yeah. Going back to Godzilla, I also loved it, but as a kid, and I'm not really sure why I stopped watching it, except maybe to say my tastes changed. And yeah, that said, what did you think of Godzilla versus Kong?
I had a darn good time. I watched that. It was the first movie in theater I'd seen since Tenet. I watched that thing, and what I really appreciated about it, because we were just coming off of Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I thought was kind of a slog. There was some things in it that I enjoyed, like some of the monster fights I thought were really cool. But like when the bad guy had to do her PowerPoint presentation about how she was the bad guy and like look at all this stuff going on. Of course, there's a twist later, but it was a pretty like, I was just like, everything that's a human character in this thing, I want to die. And I didn't feel like I wanted to die in Godzilla versus Kong when the human stuff came up. They were short and sweet, and they got to the point, and they left so that we could get back to Kong and his axe and Godzilla and the monsters and the other monsters, and I had a darn good time.
No.
It was a big, dumb, fun movie.
God damn it.
I deeply enjoyed it for what it was.
My expectations for this film were almost as non-existent as you can be, and I have never been more disappointed in a film.
You're such a snob.
No, I get it's a cash grab. I get that. Totally understand. All films really are cash grabs. I mean, you can't really avoid it.
You can't make them if you don't have a way to like show people that you can make money off of it.
But even that said, it was so goddamn fucking terrible.
Oh
my God. It was so frustrating. Just had deep structural problems that I could not overlook.
Oh, see, you got to turn off. You got to turn off your left brain. You got to turn it off completely. Off.
Just there's entire characters and plot lines which are absolutely irrelevant. If you ignore just the story part of it and realize, okay, we want some action scenes.
It's a hero's journey of King Kong. King Kong's the main character of that movie. The other stuff's the B story. No one cares about.
I get that. And that's what I'm saying. If you just want to thread together the action scenes to a plot, I get it.
Which I feel like they did. I don't know.
I feel like they
Okay, go ahead.
Even the action scenes, they were boring. I was
Lies.
bored watching them. And
Lies.
on top of that, no. On top of that, I didn't believe that I was hearing what I was watching. Like, there's so much shit that happens, and the sound designers are just like, what do you want us to do, man? And the director's like, throw some shit in the air. It's like, okay, whatever. And it's what I heard, I 100% did not believe was what I was watching would have sounded like.
You got to turn off that left brain.
Wildly frustrating.
You got to turn it off.
Yeah,
if you're gonna enjoy a movie like that, I mean, I think that it's more important to enjoy it than to critique it. As you're watching a movie, like, look,
I was bored.
I'll be honest, like, the plots in King of the Monsters, well, that one's worse, I think. But and in Godzilla vs Kong, like, they're dumb. And I'll be honest, most of the Godzilla movies, similarly bad. But you have to be able to enjoy, like, the sincerity of it if it's there. I didn't think it was there in King of the Monsters. I thought it was there in Godzilla vs Kong.
There's definitely not.
And
you thought it was there in Godzilla vs Kong?
I did. I felt like the filmmaker was having a good time, and I didn't feel that. I felt like in King of the Monsters, like, they had, like, the indie film director who did Trick or Treat, which is an insanely fun movie, right? And, like, you expect something better out of this movie because of that guy's previous work. But he films the scenes with, like, the people in the kitchen with, like, a handheld camera, and everything's really close, and it's all on telephoto lenses, so it looks like a little indie flick. And then the monster scenes are completely separate from it. What I really enjoyed, something I really enjoyed about Godzilla vs Kong, is that, like, everything was intrinsic in that way, and we also got to the monsters nice and quick. You know, they both did that just fine, but with this one, it was a lot less sloggy, stupid character stuff that didn't work. It was a lot less of it than the previous film. So I was coming off of the previous film, which I was disappointed by. And I watched Godzilla vs. Kong, and I was like, oh, this is much better. And 2014, I still think it's probably the best one out of those three. But
yeah. I had fairly high hopes for the series based on the first two films, like
2014
Godzilla,
and Skull Island.
So Godzilla and Kong Skull Island.
Yeah,
those were pretty good. Those were enjoyable movies, well made. Like, they were trying to elicit a reaction from you. There's a fucking sharp drop off. It's just like off a cliff, man.
No, yeah, King of the Monsters is rough.
Yeah, that was a shit movie. But Godzilla vs Kong was absolutely fucking terrible. The worst movie I've seen.
We agree.
In multiple years.
You can listen to the Godzilla podcast episode where we talked about. Me and Drew both agreed it's a bad movie, but we both had fun watching it. That's the difference.
I did not have fun watching it at all.
Well, I'm sorry. That's your time wasted, not mine.
Yeah. Like I said, expectations were non-existent, and I've never been more disappointed. I actually gave the film a 1 out of 10.
Oh.
There's nothing redeeming about it to me. That said, there is one thing that I can take hope on. Like I said, all films are like cash grabs, and you can get behind that, and also imbue it with life, right? I don't know why, but 8.5 comes to mind. He wanted to make it money off of it, sure, but he also wanted to tell you something that he was passionate about. Combine the two goals, that's great.
Sure, it probably wasn't that expensive a movie either.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But even films that are just blatant, I want to make some money, Transformers. Great.
I'm surprised they haven't made any money. We laughed at the trailer when we first saw it. We were watching Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think, and the first trailer for the first Transformers movie came up, and no joke, it was like what's happening on the moon, or on Mars, right? That was like the rover, and that was the teaser trailer. And everybody in the theater, when it said because there was no Transformers in the trailer, when it went Transformers, like everybody was laughing at it. And then, of course, like a few months later, became huge for some reason. So I'm always surprised by that one. I'm like,
big dumb action movie. I mean,
apparently everybody.
Fucking Werner Herzog and Christopher Nolan are both huge fans of Michael Bay.
I like a lot of things about him. I won't totally crap on him.
Yeah. But I mean, he's obviously has fans who are quite influential. But getting back to the point, if you can make a movie that is just for the money and also as transparently retarded as Godzilla versus Kong, I think I will be able to be have a successful film career.
You might, if you can if you can put all your cynicism aside and
that's not gonna happen.
Oh, it's tough. I'll tell you, going to film festival or something, and just like there are some that you're gonna see some local films or something. You can do this in LA too. You're gonna see some local stuff that's not, studio stuff or whatever, or never gonna be picked up anywhere. It's just gonna show at some film festivals and maybe be put out on Tubi sometime.
Yeah.
And you'll meet the filmmakers there, and you'll have a chat, and all you can really talk about is like things that you admired about it. Like, there's no, I mean, you stop being a critic once you make something and you realize how hard it is. And it's just like, okay, well, you did this well. How'd you do this? Oh, okay. And then you make friends with other people, and that's, I think, a little bit more important than but I mean, it's a big Hollywood movie, so you might as well be able to shit on it as much as you want. But it does change when you see people.
If I meet Adam Wingard, I will just not say anything about this. Like, I hope you got a nice check.
I'd say, who thought of the idea with King Kong and the axe thing? Because I mean, in the last one, he got struck by lightning and became super powered. But in this one, they had like the axe thing. I thought that was great. I was like, yeah, sweet. This is how King Kong can beat Godzilla. And of course he didn't. But
yeah, he didn't.
Spoilers. Which is great for the Godzilla podcast. We knew Godzilla was going to win. And he does. Godzilla wins. Definitely.
Win. He doesn't fucking win. He just gives up. He's like, you stay over there, whatever.
Oh, no. He stops his heart.
No resolution.
King Kong would have died if the other people didn't bring him up. And so King Kong's the loser. King Kong lost. But then third act twist, there's a Mechagodzilla, and they got to fight Mechagodzilla.
They couldn't have waited one more movie to introduce Mechagodzilla?
No, because this was the end of their contract, I think. That's why there's no teaser for another movie at the end of it. And this is the culmination.
Thank God.
Ha! I'm sure they'll renegotiate.
Fuck. Jesus Christ. I know my instructor's not going to watch the film. So hopefully we can just kind of give him enough of an idea. It's like, okay, there's no question, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm not going to enjoy this.
You know what I heard once from a podcast listener we had on? There's a guy who was like a writer for Sci-Fi, I think is the name of the website. It's a really big, like, Japanese and pop culture entertainment blog, like really nerdy website. And we had this writer guy on, and he had the phrase, and it stuck with me pretty good. It is that there's no such thing as a bad film. There's only the wrong audience. So you weren't the right audience for that movie. There's plenty of people that love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other people in class showed a scene from it as an example of great sound design. Or I don't know if it was great sound design, but an example of sound design. If
I don't notice the sound design, I don't notice it. Like, and that's probably a good thing. If I don't notice the sound design's working. Same with a actor's performance. If I didn't notice their performance, it's fine. It's a good performance. I was able to watch the movie and not get taken out of it by like a bad line reading or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so I guess agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah. There's no such thing as changing someone's mind. It's impossible. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
there
I
is.
know it's a dumb movie, but I enjoyed it very much.
It's. I mean, it's not just dumb; it's retarded.
I mean, like all those, like most of those movies are pretty dumb, but I enjoy a lot of them.
I mean,
and some of it I enjoy because they're dumb.
yeah, I don't think that there was a spark in this film. I don't think there was anybody who was inspired by anything.
All right,
whatever.
Whatever you say.
Whatever. So you're saying this is the final contract for it, which,
as far as I know, yeah.
But as with pretty much anything, both of these podcasts for you, eventually they will stop. You'll run out of content.
Dun dun dun. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any plans for a fourth or just anything else?
Not at the moment. I am I'm focusing on having the podcast be like a hobby that we are slowly trying to get higher quality video streams and stuff like that. We kind of went to the side in the last couple months. We've been like, okay, we're going to film this with it. We're going to buy a better camera and put this on YouTube. And we're going to work on thumbnails, YouTube thumbnails for the 20 people that watch us on YouTube. And improve the thumbnails in the podcast feeds as well. So like we are still trying to improve despite the fact that they will end. With the Godzilla podcast, we got 15 movies left, I think. There's a lot of movies. Maybe might be closer to 10 actually. And then with Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy show, we're doing like spin-off games. And those will take forever, but we got like 20 games left. Which means about 20 months left on the show. Because these are long games. And honestly, when that ends, we'll just have the one ongoing Nude Clan show, as far as I know. And I don't want to start any more podcasts until those two are kind of Godzilla and the Final Fantasy show are kind of done. Just because it's a lot. It's a lot to do that is distracting me from, the filmmaking stuff, which is priority number one. And then podcasts are priority number two. And then my day job is down in 6th place, I think. At the moment. So yeah, it's just different priorities. There was a point where I was like juggling a couple of years ago where like, okay, these podcasts are raking in. We're raking in about, between the 3 podcasts, we're making in like $600 a month. Which, if you split it between all the people, isn't very much. If it was one person, it'd be fine. It's like, okay, I'm going to do 12 podcasts and make a good living. But
yeah,
I would have to do like 30 with co-hosts in order for that to be the case. At least in Utah, I wouldn't be able to live in California with that.
no.
But there was a point where I was like, okay, I could put everything I had into this instead of film. Would I want to do that? And I realized, nah, I don't want to do that. I like being, this is my hangout time with my friends. It's really what it is more than anything else. It's not a personal branding thing. Like I don't talk about my movies or anything like that. I don't try to sell myself too much to them because they're on to hang out with friends talking about a subject they like. They're not there to like for you to push your personal stuff on them for. So yeah, it's just fun for me. It's just a fun hobby. I mean, I have other things I want to explore in podcast form. I think but I might just like rope it into the big video game show that's like all things video games. I would love to go through the Metal Gear Solid series because I love that series. I would love to watch all the James. I mean, I have watched all the James Bond movies, but I would love to, do the same thing.
Do the same thing, yeah.
With Godzilla, because I love those James Bond movies deeply. So anything where I can spread my love about something, I think is much more interesting than being cynical. My own, and I can default to this pretty easily. My own cynical film snob can come out, and I try to suppress that, and I just try to show people how much fun you can have by watching all the Godzilla movies with friends or whatever. or so anything in that category where I could bring that to it, then yeah, I'd be open to it. I have too many shows right now. I got to go back down to one show or two shows
Yeah.
tops, and I'm at 3. And so so it is like the next 2 years we'll be closing these down.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that's about everything I had. Is there anything else you want to touch on or add?
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good,
Okay.
man.
Yeah.
I was not able to record my side, so hopefully your recording worked. It wouldn't let me record your end. It like said I needed permission from you, and it wasn't giving it to me.
Did you record your audio?
No.
Okay. Well,
was I supposed to?
That's what I was asking.
Well, if you're recording the Zoom call, I was just going to record the Zoom call too. It's like as a backup, but.
All right. Well.
For is this for
works.
Is this for your audio thing?
Yeah.
Well, just stop it now. Check the file in a couple minutes when it does its thing, and you can tell me if it worked or not. We could try it again if it doesn't. Like, I don't care. I'm not doing too much tonight. I'm just playing video games. I'm trying to beat Dawn of Mana.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah. 4th sequel to Final Fantasy Adventure. That's why
I was going to say that looks like a Final Fantasy movie or game.
It's Final Fantasy adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I will stop and check it, and yeah, let you know if we need to do it again.
Okay.
If not,
you shouldn't be able to like.
Yeah, I think it'll be
if it's good, back it up on Google Drive and it'll be fine. And then send me a copy, please. If you're not going to post this anywhere, I'll post it somewhere.